everybody, this here's Rocket, and on today's edition of the Backyard Survivalist, I'd like to share with you what I've learned through trial and error about how you can feed yourself in a survival situation with a wonderful farm animal. Chickens. Now, you know, if you want to raise yourself some chickens, whether you live in the city or the country, you might want to figure out, are you going to eat those chickens? Because I say in a survival mechanism mode, eat the roosters. And you know, you might want to consider the fact that if you start eating your chickens, you won't have any more later on. And if you eat the last rooster, you could still get eggs out of them, but no more chicks. Now, you don't need a rooster to lay eggs. So if you don't have a lot of room or a lot of experience, and you're just wondering what the hell this is all about, this show today, I'm just letting you know that you could effectively keep a chicken in a cage, like a rabbit cage, in your goddamn apartment if you had to. And that little son of a bitch will make you an egg every single day if you get everything right. And what I want to do is share with you some helpful ideas if you decide that you want to take on this critter. First of all, like I said, you don't need a rooster for a chicken to lay eggs. If you want them fertilized, you're going to need a rooster. But other than that, they don't serve much purpose and they make a lot of noise. Now, they will protect your flock from predators. For the purposes of this survival series, we're going to assume you have a limited area and must keep your chicken hidden so that others don't dominate your chicken and take it over and steal your eggs. You don't want to be giving away the eggs. Now, you're going to have to feed your chickens. Your chickens can eat eggs. In fact, all the eggshells, crush them up, give them to your chicken. You can keep the chicken in a small cage. You can really restrict the chicken and keep him in a pretty small cage. If he can get out and walk around for a little bit and go back inside, he's probably happy with it, and they'll produce an egg for you every day. Now, if the eggs come out lumpy or strange looking, it's usually because they're sick or they've got some kind of problem or you're not feeding them right. If they start to starve or they don't eat the right food, they stop laying eggs. The chicken will only lay eggs for a couple years, although sometimes they lay eggs longer than that. But in a survival situation, the most ideal situation you could have is to have one chicken per person laying an egg every day. You could literally survive. I remember I gave a ride in the ambulance one time. This old dude that was telling me on a long trip how when he was a boy during World War II when everyone was starving, he lived on a raw egg every day. Poke a hole in it and suck it out. So in a survival situation, ideally, if you could have one chicken per person laying an egg, now you might have to go through several chickens to get there. Maybe just a pair of chickens or a solo chicken. One egg can go a long ways on a survival diet if you've already stored rice or are bargaining big lighters for other stuff. Once again, if you eat the chickens, you won't be able to, they're not going to be able to lay eggs. You're going to have to be fearful because anybody that sees a chicken in a survival mechanism, they're going to want to grab that chicken and steal it from you. And predators like coyotes and raccoons can clean you out in one day. You literally have to keep an eye on your chickens all the time and keep them secure so they don't get nabbed. If you're going to free range them, if you got the yard or you live out in some property somewhere, no problem. I suggest you get a dog to keep the coyotes away. Otherwise, you'll just notice a big pile of feathers and they're gone. In a survival situation, you don't want to lose your chicken. If you're in an apartment, instead of having a goddamn rat Or what are those weasel goddamn things? The little weasel-looking things. They stink to high heavens. Or like a hamster or some other crap. Get a goddamn chicken. Get a hen. They call them pullets until they start laying eggs. Ideally, you need a hen so it can lay eggs. And get it used to living in a little goddamn cage like a parrot. Treat it like a parrot. Take care of it. If you can get it to start laying eggs, you're in like Flint. Now look, chickens have to eat. You gotta feed them something, no doubt. You know, and bread and that kind of stuff, they will eat it. So if you can get tortillas or bread or stuff like that to feed them, even yucky stuff, old stuff, they'll eat it, and especially if they're hungry. Some other ideas for food, if there's electricity, put a large-sized bug zapper above their cage. So every time a bug gets zapped, the junk falls down in their cage. They'll eat it, no doubt. In a survival situation, you could feed your emergency egg chicken by putting a sheet up and putting a kerosene lamp in front of it, or an electric lamp in front of it, and attracting as many moths and nighttime insects as you can. Put it so it's like a funnel, and they fall down into a jar with a cotton ball of alcohol, so the bugs die. Take that cotton ball out. There's your food for your chicken. Chickens gotta have calcium if they're laying eggs, so let them eat all of the old eggshells. Gotta let them eat all the old eggshells. You gotta come up with calcium. You can get calcium from any kind of bones, a cat bone, dog bones, chicken bones. You can take 2 bricks and grind the bones into bits and put that in their food. You can get crushed up seashells. Ideally, you'll have some. Ideally, you'll have some chicken food, chicken pellets, chicken scratch, corn on the cob, vegetables. You could let them go around like a yarded area and see what they peck at, and then later on you could keep them in your cage when you need to be secret about it and just go out and collect those items that they pecked out earlier. But trust me, your chickens are going to get hungry, or your chicken's going to get hungry, and you'll know because he's trying to climb out of the cage when he sees you. He wants you to feed him. So for some other ideas on how to feed your chicken, roll over a log, roll over rocks, and find bugs for him to eat. If you can find your chicken, like 5 or 10 worms, big ones, you get by for the day. Once again, they have to have some calcium. You can come up with stuff. And a lot of junk that you cook. The other day, I fed the chickens what was left of some chicken noodle soup. With the soup, I went out there, it was gone. They ate it all. So, corn on the cob, they love it. They'll peck it to, There are things that you're going to be able to come across as food items in a survival situation where you have to weigh keeping your chicken alive and keeping it producing eggs versus the food content that you're feeding the chicken. Now, at some point, you're going to call it a flush, and you're going to wind up eating the chicken. And there you go. Now you got some more sustenance from the chicken. Maybe that'll get you by another week if you could eat your chicken that was laying eggs. Ideally, though, what you want is you want a chicken in a small cage that's laying eggs. And this thing can be self-fulfilling and supply you with a fresh, wonderful, viable food product every day. And if you don't like eggs, the value of a fresh egg, an organic fresh egg in your hand for trade, for barter, is insane. Tons of value. Now, baby chicks are harder to raise. You got to keep the temperature constant. But you know what? I don't mess around with it. I just put a nightlight. I take an extension cord, put a nightlight on it, and then I raise the little chicks in a wooden box. That's how I do it. 1, you can't see the nightlight. 2, if I was in a survival situation, this is a good way to go. It's just a big wooden plywood box with a lid, a hinged lid. I put the chicks down in there with some shavings, and then I put a nightlight on an extension cord and just droop it down in there. And they huddle around it. It could be freezing outside, but I got the box closed. I mean, they're not getting a ton of air in there, but it doesn't seem to bother them. And then during the day, I'll open the lid and leave it open. But I watch for predators, birds flying over will grab the chicks and take off with them. It's a long haul to raise a chick to a chicken. I don't know how they fucking sell them for $6 at Safeway, because by the time you've raised a chick to a chicken, you got $100 worth of feeding. I'm just joking, though. I mean, God, they ate a lot. They really do eat a lot. So bear that in mind if you're going to keep one. Ideally, though, to have a chicken laying an egg in a survival mode, it could be the difference between life and death.